this is new to you. I was a good little wife, and I was making my husband suits. Didn't make a whole lot of them, but I did. And I just couldn't achieve the set-in sleeve that I really thought was good. And I had been taught to, do the row of E-stitching, steam it out, all that business. And I still wasn't happy. Well, I had come across this wonderful Polish woman. Her name was Jo Marno. I'm sure she's long gone up into heaven, but she said, honey, it's all in the fingers. Now, she had worked in the factory, in the windbreaker factory. I went over there with the wool, which should be easy to ease in, and she showed me this trick. If you've checked me out on YouTube, you would have seen this, but I want to show it again, and I want to put it into this DVD. Obviously, sewing and easing in a knit is far, far easier. I actually slit across the top of the sleeve cap and added more so that I had more ease to fit in here so that you could see the magic of this. And I've got Joan, who's been sewing for how many years, Joan?
About 35.
Okay, sitting here. And just with a little bit of chatting, I already know that this will be new for her. All right, so you've cut out your garment, and you have your notches. You have a single notch in the front, a double notch in the back. And then there are those dots. Those dots are all important. I always snip mark the dots. So on the garment and on the armhole, you will snip the dots. And then you snip the very top of the sleeve. So those are the key points. So I've keyed up and pinned the top, the dots, the notches, and then, do you remember about balancing the bulk? Since we're pressing the seam allowances together one direction, I always send my garment seam allowances towards the back and my sleeve garment seam allowances towards the front. So down here I don't have all the bumps going one way. I've got balanced bulk.
I already see something new. I never pay attention to the dots.
Really?
Really.
Okay. All
That's
right.
something new. Okay.
Okay.
I'll start marking.
Now, I know most people sew with the sleeve side down, and I've already talked about very frequently when one piece is bigger than the other, that you want to have the one that's bigger at the bottom because the big dogs are going to mush it in. This is just the way I do it. All I'm asking is that you watch and give it a try. If you don't like it, then you know whose way is best, your way. All right, I'm going to sew with the sleeve side up. Yep, sleeve side up. And I'm going to start at the front notch, and I'm going to stitch around. Now, I don't need to mark my seam line, but you'll see very quickly that especially as you're first trying this, go ahead and chalk in your seam line on the wrong side of the sleeve. So now we're going to start stitching. I'll take out my pin for you. Just giggling. We've had this discussion. Okay. Now I'm going to come over these. No magic yet, because there's no ease down around the bottom. The sleeve isn't any bigger. And up to the notches, there's no ease. Really, up to the dots, there is no ease. But once you get to the dots, there is ease. So now, Carl, can you zoom in here and see how much more sleeve I have than garment? See this big bump here?
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, that's what's got to get shrunk into this. Agreed? You take some kind of pointer, and usually my seam ripper's handy, and I'm going to go in slow speed, and it's all in the fingers. That's what Joe said, or your implement here. So I'm going to go in slow speed, and every single stitch I am making sure my edges match, and I see how much I have to put in. I take Tall Man here, and I plant him, dividing this into 2 equal parts, how much has to get mushed in, and I don't move him. And then every single stitch, now you see on a woven, this is bias, so that just works in.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful.
I knew you'd like it.
It shrinks.
It does. And on a knit, of course, it's just easy peasy.
And I really
Who is
like
it who says easy peasy? I think that's Catherine. Okay, I've got this too slow.
I like the line being drawn. That's helpful too.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you first start out. So here we are at the front. Now there's more ease in the back usually than in the front. But you divide it, plant, tall man. We've got pointer, tall man, ring man. Okay, it's every single stitch and it's just a northeast diagonal movement. I hope my hand's not in the way, I can't move it and do this.
Oh, that is beautiful, it really is.
Isn't that cool?
Uh-huh.
So do you see why I like to have the sleeve on top?
Yeah.
Okay, so now
Yeah,
you'll
more
come
control.
around to where you started. Oops. And it's always the bottom of the sleeve that wants to rip out, so then zoom in and stitch it double, coming in about 1/8 of an inch, and go around that bottom one more time. And then it's time to grade it. Give it a grade. You look at it from the garment side and you say, oh, did I wobble? That looks like a wobble to me, right there. I went crooked as I was feeding in my excess. So now the excess is managed. All you need to do is stitch with the garment side up and straighten out the wobble.
That's beautiful.
Now I notice that I have some skip stitches here. I will change my needle. Right here's a skip stitch. I hope you have learned that you should change your needle after every single garment. No more important part of your sewing machine than the needle. Really. Sewing biblical truth. Change your needles frequently. Okay, let's look, after my lecture here, let's look at my sleeve.
Bravo, that's beautiful.
And I did it in contrasting colors. Now I would very carefully serge with the garment side up, my fingers underneath here at the serger, always, 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 okay, so that that was finished off nicely. Again, on a knit you don't have to, and then that seam always goes towards the sleeve itself. So that's the Polish way of setting in a sleeve.
Love it.